Hello, Nick Lachey? Yeah, it's Tate. I've made my decision. For my trial marriage, I choose Chanel. She did what? Hey Siri, call Micah. All right, welcome to Tate's Take. If you're new here, today we're talking about the first 5 episodes of the Ultimatum Season 3. And now I'm going to be talking about them like you've seen them too. If that's something you're into, hit that subscribe button for your boy. From our regular Tate's Takers, let's see if the third time's a charm or if we want queer love back. Okay, super quick background here. This is indeed the 4th installment of the Ultimatum, so you really should know what's going on. But just in case you are indeed new to the party, here's the sitch. We got 6 couples. One person in each of these couples is ready to get married and the other one is not so sure. So the one who's ready to get married has issued the ultimate ultimatum. You either marry me or I'm moving on. Here in the show, these couples get to mixing and mingling for a week. At the end of that week, each person is going to end up with a new partner that they're going to go on a 3-week trial marriage with. At the end of those 3 weeks, they're going to go on another 3-week trial marriage, this time with the person they came with. At the end of all that, they're going to decide, am I going to leave married to my original partner? Am I going to leave by myself? Or am I going to leave with someone new? What could possibly go wrong? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what could possibly go wrong with this episode by episode breakdown. And let me tell you right now, episode 5 is the craziest one, so put your freaking seatbelts on. Boom! Episode 1. This one's called The Split. Okay, season 3 of the Ultimatum. We are still indeed being hosted by Nick and Vanessa Lachey. I will say though, in their real relationship, Vanessa did give Nick an ultimatum. So at least for this show, having them host kind of makes sense. Should Netflix take a minute or two to see who else is out there? Yeah, maybe. Am I available? Also, maybe. All right, let's meet this season's couples, starting with Zaina and JR. Zaina is 32 and she delivered the ultimatum to JR, who's 33. They've been dating for 3 years and this is by far the hottest couple on the whole show. I would also be remiss if I had mentioned the fact that JR looks like Big Sean. What do we know about Zaina and JR? Too much, honestly. They met on a dating app. They have similar upbringings. They both like Thai food and JR was the first person to make her have an orgasm. So yeah. JR was married before, but he was 22, which should be illegal anyway. Apparently his first wife cheated on him, and poor thing's been paranoid ever since. But Zaina says fuck all that. She's ready to move on if he doesn't propose. Next up, we have Nick and Sandy. Nick is 38, and he gave the ultimatum to Sandy. Sandy's 27, and they've been dating for 2.5 years. Nick is an artist, and he's ready to settle down and have a chill home life. When they started dating, it used to just be one of those late night, drunk, hookups, you up type things. But now he's ready to give it all up. He wants some dogs and some kids. Sandy, on the other hand, is not so sure she's ready to give up the game yet. She's still out here partying in these streets. Other things of note, these two don't live together and he cries a lot. Next up, we got Mariah and Caleb. Mariah's 24 and she gave the ultimatum to Caleb, who's 29. They've been dating for 2 years. Mariah's the youngest on the show, but easily one of the most mature. Add on the fact that she's steady in her career, this girl's ready to get married. And she's also ready to move on if Caleb is not. And she might be alright because Dave was immediately creeping on her. Speaking of Dave, he's next up. His girlfriend Vanessa gave him the ultimatum. Dave is 34, Vanessa is 30. They've been dating for 3 years. Dave says he knows that marriage is on the horizon, but he's just not in a rush. Then we got Scotty and Aria. Scotty is 30 and Aria is 25. Scotty's the second dude to deliver the ultimatum. They've been dating for 3 years. Couple things to unpack here. First of all, these two live in different cities. What are we doing? Second is that Aria's career is going really well right now. She doesn't want to concede that. She watched her mom do that and it ruined her parents' relationship. This young man said he's gonna move on if she doesn't accept his proposal. He wants to know, is the issue in getting married or is the issue the person? That's a good question. And I think I know which one it is, bud. And last, but certainly not least, we have Queen Chanel and Micah. Chanel is 27 and she gave the ultimatum to Micah, who's 28. They've been dating for 2.5 years. 2.5 years too long, if you ask me. I don't know why this was the only couple not to get introduced at the table. I promise it wasn't my fault. But I would be remiss if I didn't address the fact that this young man seems to be very small. Like, Netflix got him in the shadows. This first scene with them is so wild though. He's like, when I first met you, where were you? Yeah, you were doing Uber Eats. And who was there for you? Like, what? My girl's looking like, whoa, tell the whole world my resume. But the way I would order Uber Eats every day if I lived in her city, just hoping for the day that Chanel brings me my Chipotle, and I'd be like, hey, you don't have to do this anymore. I'm taking you out the game. And at least like level her up to like DoorDash Premium or something like that. I don't know if I could take her all the way out the game, but at least like, you know, like caviar. It's like the Uber Black of delivery food service. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, now she works in marketing. And this dude is like, yeah, you got this new job. Don't you like that? Wouldn't kids mess that new job up? First of all, she wants to get married to you. She didn't say anything about wanting kids right now. So take that gaslighting somewhere else, young man. He just doesn't think it's the right time. Got that poor thing crying, and she's trying to remind him that tomorrow is not promised, and she is not wrong. All right, now that we've met our couples, let's see what other noteworthy things happened this episode, because we still got to go through the couples last night together, the speed dating, and the cocktail party. Okay, couples last night together. Let's go to Dave and Vanessa. He already tells her that he likes Mariah. Vanessa's like, bro, she's 24. Dave's like, whoa, I'm just telling you what I thought was interesting. Then over to Sandy and Nick. He doesn't think that she puts her passions towards him. He's like, you should put your passions towards things like golf. Literally, why? Then we got a scene with Scotty and Arya. Does she look like her? Okay, anyway, they're talking about how because they've been apart, they're missing that emotional connection. Over to Mariah and Caleb, and honestly, I don't know what happened here. I just know that she cried. Then we go to Zaina and JR, who seem to not only be making a Netflix show, but also making some OnlyFans content at the same time. Good Lord, the way Netflix got her cheeked up out here. Okay, on to speed dating, and yeah, it's just as awkward as you would expect. Starting with Scotty, who felt the need to tell us that his shades are Versace. Who's gonna let this guy know that's not the flex he thinks it is? Okay, the first real speed dating connection is with Nick and Vanessa. Yes, their names are also Nick and Vanessa. Nick says that at 38, he's on the golden ultimatum, which, that is impressive wordplay. I cannot hate on it. Sandy and JR finally meet. She had her eyes on him from the beginning. But this is just a lust fest. He's talking about how he likes her body, how he likes her eyes, and how Scorpios have the best sex. Like, yeah. Then JR spends some time with Arya. He tells her that his dad is a pastor and how he's one of 7 kids. And she's like, oh, I'm one of 8 kids. Honestly, why is having unlimited kids legal? Over to Scotty and Zaina, who are starting to vibe. He's talking about how turning 30 hits different. And she's like, yeah, tell me about it. Now, what I'm about to say is stupid. And it's not important. But if I don't address it, I fear that it may haunt me and my family for generations. So after Zaina agrees that turning 30 hits different, Scotty, who's 30 years old, goes to Zaina, who's 32 years old, and says, oh, you're 32? And she's like, yeah, I'm 32. You have a great memory. But wasn't he just saying, are you 32? Like 30 as well? I just want to make sure he's not getting credit for remembering something that he could have never even known in the first place. You know what I'm saying? I told you it wasn't important, but that shit's been driving me nuts. Anyway, on to the cocktail party where JR has now sprayed half of his bottle of cologne. This is where they play that coin quarters questions game. I think it's Arya, and they ask her, who do you have the least chemistry with? And she's like, it would have to be Dave. And Dave is like, she was my number one. Freaking Dave is like, she was my number one. All right, whatever. They asked Caleb, who would you spend the night with? He's like, Arya. They asked JR, and this is going to be really important for later. They asked JR, who would you least want to be with your ex? And he's like, that guy. And he's talking about Nick. And Nick's like, hey, my name's Nick. And he's like, I know your name. Oh, excuse me. They asked Sandy, who do you want to go on a second date with? Obviously, she says JR. They asked Nick, who are you most intimidated by? He says Vanessa. Then they spend some time together, find out that they were both homeschooled. Okay. Her ex, Dave, is not making no connections, just walking around like a little creep. Then he tries to interrupt the date. Golly, let Nick cook. He's trying to get Vanessa to go home. Hey, you agreed to go on the show. She is not having it. Mind you, she's the one that gave out the damn ultimatum. She's like, no, we're here now. Then for some more content that will surely decrease our brain cells, we're with Sandy and JR. She's saying that her man Nick never asks how her day is. And JR is like, yeah, well, Zaina's always getting jealous because these girls be leaving comments on my Instagram page. Yeah. Then out the blue, we find out that JR used to be homeless and was living out of hotels. That's super heavy. Sandy's looking at him like, well, why didn't you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps? I'm just kidding, she didn't say that. But she was thinking it. Anyway, after this brief, vulnerable moment, they go back to doing what they do best, talking about sex. He asks her, what's her favorite thing about her body? She's like, probably my boobs. This thirst bucket is like, oh, I haven't even seen him yet. Can I get a little closer to you? Then the eye roll moment of the whole episode. She's like, hey, do you think we'd have cute kids together? He's like, hell yeah, cute ass little mixed kids. Bro, do you hear yourself? Okay, then as the episode comes to a close, we're back with Scotty and Zaina, and they're holding hands. Arya, who is Scotty's ex, sees this and doesn't like it. Mind you, he's the one that gave her the ultimatum, but no problem. Watching this girl, Arya, sniffle cry, while at the same time seeing Scotty and Zaina twiddling their fingers together, priceless. Arya comes in to separate these two. She's like, can we talk for a second? Scotty's like, okay, cool, let's talk. She's like, why are you holding hands? He's like, with who? Scotty, you moron. You know who the fuck you're talking about. Now the real Scotty emerges. He turns into the werewolf from the Thriller video. He's like,
stop coming at me like that.
Here's what I wrote down in my notes. Mark my words, this dude Scotty is dangerous. Boom, episode 2. This one's called The Choice. We are still in a week of dating. We spent some time with Nick and Vanessa, and she's telling him how she did some bodybuilding contest and her man Dave didn't like it and she never did it again. Nick's like, oh my God, I would love if you did that. I would totally support you. She's like, really? Then she tells him not to give her any cheese because she might fart and Dave doesn't like it when she farts. And Nick tells her, I would think that it will be cute when you fart. This is journalism. But also, like, what does she like about Dave? This dude kind of sucks. And speaking of Dave, over to him in an unlikely connection with my boo Chanel. He asks her, hey, have you ever dated a Jew before? She's like, no. Then this stupid ass conversation about, do you kiss someone before you start dating them? Are these people Mormons? Another awkward matchup here. We're with Micah and Mariah. And doesn't Mariah look like the lady from the Avengers that knocked Bruce Banner out of the Hulk? Now this date was awkward as fuck, but we get to learn a lot more about Mariah and how, like, growing up, she never had room to really be a kid. She grew up with her mom from like age 1 to 8. Then her mom, like, literally abandoned her, which is kind of crazy to see how, like, Mariah's so mature. Mariah's just been through a lot. It just makes it more impressive why she's so mature at the age of 24. But I guess sometimes these things, like, force you to grow up. So moving on, we got a date with Caleb, and I'm not really sure who this young man is or who he came with, but he's on a date with Arya. I don't know what happened there. Over to the cocktail party, and naturally they're playing the worst game ever invented. Never have I ever. This included topics like sex party attendance and faking orgasms, which then somehow led to this love fest between Vanessa and Chanel. And if I'm being honest, Vanessa was getting a little too close for my liking. But Vanessa is super drunk. She later pulls up on Nick and she's like, Nick, why didn't you grab me and stop it and talk to me? Why didn't you talk to me today? Why you didn't grab me? Then over to Dave and Mrs. Tate, Chanel. This stupid ass smile, look away from each other, turn around and smile thing was so dumb. It had no business being that cute. Then perhaps the realest moment of these first 5 episodes. JR pulls up on Micah. He's like, hey bro, you ever been with a white girl? He's like, yeah. JR's like, for real? He's like, yeah, wait, what do you mean been with? I've been with a white girl. I'd have had some situationships with a white girl, but I never dated a white girl. JR tells him like, yeah, me neither. Honestly, there's a chance that Micah might be cool. I got my eyes on this. Small, but cool. Over to a date with JR and Arya. She asks him, hey, what's your timeline for having kids? He's like, ugh. Zaina always reminds me how she's getting older and how she wants to freeze her eggs, but I'm not trying to rush having kids because of her biological clock. Is this your king? Okay. Then he tells her about his last marriage ending because the girl cheated on him. He said he pushed it to the side though. And if by push it to the side he means wallowed in it for years and made it his entire dating identity, then yeah, he pushed it to the side. Arya tells him that based on the way he looks, she ain't expecting him to be that deep. And just a point of clarification, JR is about as deep as those cups they give you at Catholic Church to drink the blood of Jesus Christ. You know? You ever seen one of those cups? He is hot though. JR is still stuck between Sandy and Arya, but this dude is way too horny not to pick Sandy. If I took a shot every time one of these two idiots said the word fire, I'd be drunk enough to think that Nick and Vanessa Lachey are good hosts. Anyway, then JR and Sandy are on another date where they name the drinks all those sexy ass titles, and he learns what 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink means. He tells her that he has a very strict diet so that he can say, and I quote, lean and ripped. Of course, that comment leads him to tell her that she has nice lips and he wants to know what kind of kisser she is. He says, and I quote, I want it sloppy and spitty. I want to taste it all.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
But it got him a kiss though, the first one on the whole show. It wasn't sloppy or spitty, but their lips did touch. Now we get down to the choices. Scotty's up first, and how about a moment of silence for the future trauma that will be endured by whoever he chooses? Thank you. He starts crying, talking about Zaina, and Zaina does the same. He chooses her, and Zaina accepts. Zaina's giving her speech, and Arya jumps in, talking about how she's getting choked up, listening to her man pour his heart out about another woman. Girl, it ain't your turn. Then JR jumps in, talking about, yeah, we knew this experiment was going to be hard, but we got to see it through. Boy, you're out here really smooching. You shut up, too. Next up, we got Mariah, and she's the one that dated Caleb. Now I understand where he came from. All right, cool. She said her first date was with Micah, and she chooses Micah. Even Micah was like, me? Now it's Micah's turn to talk, and can Netflix please get this man a phone book? Golly, can barely see this nigga. Sorry. He also chooses Mariah. This relationship has about a 0% chance of working out. Next up, we have Chanel, who for some reason doesn't choose me. She's up there talking about how she had a connection with Dave. She chooses Dave. And I'm fine with that. Why would I not be fine with that? Dave, in turn, chooses Chanel, obviously. He'll be a fool. Oh shit. Then all of a sudden, Micah jumps in, broke down, crying. He's like sniffling. Hey, Dave, that's my best friend right there. You better protect her. You hear me? Don't worry, Micah. Because if Dave can't protect her, that was my last one. Next up is JR, and I already know that Netflix is going to cliffhanger me pretending that I don't know that he's going to pick Sandy, but let's just go play the game. JR looks at Arya, he's like, you're beautiful, and we have some very deep conversations. He looks at Sandy, and he's like, I really want to smash you. Okay, you didn't say that, but he would. No, listen, I've heard different things about preachers' kids, but this dude JR is a different level of horny. Back to the decision table, Nick jumps in. He's like, look, if y'all just want to play games, y'all can go ahead and play games. JR's like, excuse me, sir. I don't think you know about the connection that we have. We have a super deep connection. Boom, episode 3. This one's called Sealed with a Kiss. Now, you know we left off on that cliffhanger where JR is about to choose Sandy, and we know that he's going to choose Sandy. The T here is, where does that leave Arya? Look at her face. Poor thing. But watch this. JR can't even take the win and sit down. He's like, yes, Sandy. I choose you. But if I must be honest, you're not my typical type. If I walked into a bar and I saw you, I wouldn't even look at you twice. Yeah, cool. Literally, everyone's looking around like... He's like, no. I mean, like, physically, just like like my physical type. But I knew the connection was real because one time I told her to shut up, and she told me to shut up too. So, yeah. I wish that last sentence was one of those ones I made up just for the laughs. But no, he indeed said that. Sandy gets up after this poetry slam and chooses JR too. I don't know what she said, something about fire. Next up, we have Vanessa, who gets up and chooses Nick. He chooses her too. He says that they knew each other in a past life. Nope, you did not. Then all of a sudden, Dave steps in and he's telling everyone to be on their best behavior. This whole scene had the weirdest editing. It just seemed that people were just jumping in as if Nick and Vanessa Lachey were asking questions. Like, I don't know if y'all noticed that too. It was just like people just started popping up and saying stuff. It's like, there's no way they just started talking out the blue. And if they did, unhinged. Now it's Arya's turn, and I'm thinking she's about to pick Nick Lachey because there ain't nobody else available. And she starts talking about how her and Caleb had a good connection. Arya stands up to make her choice. She says, I choose Caleb. Caleb's like, me? I didn't even know I was on the show. Caleb chooses her too. Great. 6 new couples have been set. Caleb and Arya, Nick and Vanessa, Scotty and Zaina, JR and Sandy, Micah and Mariah, and sadly, Dave and Chanel. Let the trial marriages begin. First scene to comment on is with Nick and Vanessa. Nick is complaining about the fact that Sandy ended up with JR. He's like, yeah, I just don't like that knucklehead JR. There were so many other guys I wish she connected with. What are you trying to say? Nick has very weird energy towards Vanessa. His words to her don't match his actions. Then to Sandy and JR, he's like, hey, how do you feel about me sleeping in this king-size bed with you? She's like, it's fine. He's looking around. He's like, oh, they're getting freaky in here. Find some chains. JR, brother to brother, please don't let her put those chains on you. Then a nice cringy bow to put on this whole scene where she's like, yeah, I just want you to be yourself. And he's like, oh, yeah, me? Oh, yeah, I'll be me. I ain't no else I could be but me. JR, what are you doing? She then asks him, hey, have you ever been with a white girl? He's like, nope. They've been attracted to me, though. Of course. Everyone is. She tells him that she thinks that Nick is triggered because he can see that they have a real connection. She's like, yeah, for some reason, I just don't think he likes you. I can't figure out why. It's because he's black. Over to Chanel and Dave. This is by far the strangest couple. I just know her perfect match is out there somewhere. I don't know where, but he's out there. Is he wearing a black Tate's Take hoodie that makes for great holiday gift giving and is available for purchase right now? Maybe, how would I know? Then to Micah and Mariah, which is the second strangest couple. These two act as if scientists built two robots and told them to imitate humans that just moved in together. Micah's like, how do you like your apartment to look? Are you clean? What time do your days start? Typically, do you feel things? This generative AI tells her, sometimes in the morning, I like to play a vinyl. Would you be satisfied with this? She's like, this would please me. I think we should get ready for bed now. We're almost done. Then we're with Ari and Caleb, and she's still crying about Scotty. Caleb's like, hold on 1 second. Comes back with a roll of toilet paper. There's no way there's no tissues in that room. That's honestly the only thing I had for that scene, and looking back, I could have skipped it. Last and potentially least, we're with Scotty and Zaina. She's like, whew, man, I just need to decompress. He's like, do you need to decompress alone? She's like, no, don't be silly. I would love to decompress with my new husband. Here's what I put in my notes next. Listen, y'all, I don't like this guy. I got my good eye on him. But also Zaina, who I really like. Zaina, I find to be very cool. Her having to choose between JR and Scotty, like, I can't help you. Like, choose you. Quick petty scene by Netflix here where Arya's telling Caleb, boy, I sure hope that Scotty's sleeping on the couch like you are. Darling, I can assure you he is not. And Zaina's pajamas are sexy as all hell. I don't know what to tell you. More bedtime chronicles. Here's one that'll waste your time. Nick's telling Vanessa that he likes how her mouth moves when she's delivering information. Let me just move on. Speaking of wasting your time, we're back with Sandy and JR. She's like, wait a minute. What does JR stand for? John Robert? He's like, no, what the hell? It's John Richard, nigga. She damn near guessed it. She's like, or it could be John, like J-A-W-N, like a Philly John. And then he's like, what's your name? I hate this. But sadly, we're not done. She's like, naturally, I wouldn't normally go for a guy like you because I wouldn't think I'd be able to connect with you. Anyway, we're out of there. But as the episode comes to a close, we got ourselves some sneaky McSneaksters. The night vision cam catches Micah at 3 a.m. texting Chanel, and now he's on the move. Mariah's up and looking all over for him. Then over to Chanel and Dave, she's telling him, hey, Dave, do you mind if I get a little air for a second? Imagine a sneaky link with your own boyfriend. But also, okay, let's talk about Dave for a second, because I feel like I haven't been so kind to this man, but I gotta give him his flowers when flowers are due. It's 3 a.m., and this woman who he just met wants to go out and get some air. Most people would be like, sure, fine, do your thing. Dave is like, is everything okay? Do you want me to come with you? Are you familiar with the area yet? I gotta keep you safe. I gotta respect the fact that he took heed to Micah's words when they were sitting around choosing their partners. I don't think people are gonna address that, but you got a lot of respect for me. Okay, listen, we not even to the first day of trial marriages and the tea is spilling all over the city. The next morning, Chanel pulls back up at 8:30. Sadly, she was not with me. She apologizes to Dave for leaving him. Then over to JR for some reason when they wake up, He asks Sandy, is this what a one-night stand feels like? JR, you are an idiot. Then over to Vanessa and Nick. She's asking him where he was. He's like, look, I just went out to get some coffee. I ran into Sandy and I found out that her and JR already kissed. How would that even come up? Naturally, Nick has a mental breakdown, and I assure you, it won't be his last. Boom! Episode 4. This one's called Ghosted. Unfortunately, we start this episode off with Sandy and JR. They just came back from Whole Foods, and I guess JR is getting the debrief about how Sandy ran into Nick, and she told him that they smooched. Okay? Now let's get into some real action, because we got ourselves the oh my golly Wally moment of the episode, and it won't be the last. Mariah comes home and realizes that Micah has packed up all his shit and left. He even took the book that he let her borrow. She was probably in that thing like it was just getting good too. Could it be that Chanel has found someone else? A content creator perhaps? An empath? Someone to treat her like the queen she is? No, but that would have been cute. Then Nick comes home and finds Vanessa's shit is all packed up and she's gone. Netflix comes through with the public service announcement how Dave and Vanessa and Micah and Chanel had a secret meeting and the Netflix cameras caught them packing their shit. They officially left the show. I didn't see this coming. Listen, Micah and Mariah had the weirdest trial marriage, so I could concede that. But Vanessa, I know she could probably tell that Nick doesn't like her all the way, but again, what do you like about Dave? So now we have Nick and Mariah who are both alone. They meet up. He talks about feeling alone and all this, and she's like, yeah, well, I'm fucked up too. He's like, well, you don't seem like it. She goes on to talk about how she was abandoned as a child and how she uses relationships so that she can feel love, like a real vulnerable moment. And the first thing that Nick says is, well, I'm gonna use this time to be alone. Can I just say what we're all thinking here? Why wouldn't they just be a trial marriage? Moving on to some highlights from day one, starting with Arya and Kayla. They're talking on the bench. I guess he asked her about her parents' divorce and like how old she was. She was like, I was a freshman in college. She was like, you know, my parents had an open relationship. He's like, oh, I couldn't do it. I'm not Akon. Apparently Akon has 9 wives. He's like, yeah, it's not for me. But I guess Akon did bring electricity to Africa, so I can't even hate on him. Caleb, I wasn't familiar with your game, but that is wordplay that I could appreciate. Honestly, now that I know who Caleb is a pretty cool dude. Then JR and Sandy go bowling. I think they switch pants. I don't know how anyone could go bowling in pants that tight, but alas. He asked her, hey, have I done anything so far that annoys you? She's like, not really. I guess the whole like splitting of the chores thing, like when you do laundry by yourself. She's like, you know, I got a little housewife in me. He's like, I'm so glad you said that because I don't get that at home. JR, literally shut up. Over to Zaina and Scotty. He says, hey, do you have any intention to move back to the East Coast closer to your family? She's like, no. Then he's like, well, how old do you want to be when you have kids? He says he doesn't want to be the old people at the parent-teacher conference, okay? He tells her, I feel like you don't really lean into your emotions. You either change the subject or resort to humor. And I think that may be because you're with a partner who doesn't let you express yourself. She's like, damn, you got me. He says, obviously I have a connection with my ex, and I have a connection with you. I want to leave here engaged to someone, and I hate the thought of possibly not being good enough for someone. Whoa. Over to Arya and Caleb. She says, are you someone that needs to get the last word? Objection, leading the witness. She says Scotty's like that, and I hate that. My man Caleb's like, the last word? Girl, I don't even want to talk in a fight. Low-key though, I'm not going to lie. Me personally, I do be needing to have the last word. But I think I'm going to heal on that and work that out for 2025. If not, 2026 by the latest. Arya's like, oh man, Caleb, I'm so glad to hear that. So you and Mariah, you've been together for 2 years?
Now you see something? You know you don't fucked up, right?
Caleb proceeds to fire off a 37-minute TED Talk about just how perfect and precious and beautiful the love that Mariah gives him is. Arya's looking at him like, why the fuck did I even ask this nigga this question? Then the Netflix edit cutting over to Mariah just eating and living alone is nuts. Over to JR and Sandy who are cooking together. This girl doesn't understand how we could run through a whole bottle of seasoning already. This poor thing probably been using the same salt and pepper since undergrad. They go on to talk about kids. He says, do you want a boy or a girl? She says a girl, and that's the correct answer. He says, I want 3 boys and 1 girl. But I'm not in a rush. My man says he's 33 and he wants these kids by 40. Does he have any idea how old these women are? Then out the blue, Nick pulls up like the neighborhood watch. Like, bro, you could be eating dinner with Mariah right now. But instead, he's painting his aggression. And by the way, go ahead and peel that sticker off the IKEA furniture. Go ahead and peel that off. Okay, we have now made it to week 2 of these trial marriages. Starting with Zaina teaching Scotty how to play basketball. You can't trust no dude that shoots like that. And as much as I don't trust Scotty right now, we do get a real moment here. She's like, if you can go back in time and change one thing, what would it be? This man Scotty's like, well, when I was younger, I got like a speeding ticket or something. And my dad was like, you know, talking to me, reprimanding me, just basically trying to teach me a lesson. Later that night, I went out and he said, I love you. And I didn't say I love you back. My dad died the next morning. That's crazy. Listen, I don't got to lecture y'all. Life is short. Say your I love yous. Matter of fact, you should pause this video and send an I love you right now. But make sure you come back because we're about to get to the good part. Last scene of the episode here, we're with JR and Sandy at the pool. He asks her, have you ever been cheated on? She's like, duh. He tells her that he will Control-Alt-Delete his wife if she cheated on him. It's over. Dunzo. A wrap. She says, well, I'll probably try to work it out and see if we could make it work, which is the mature response. But this man is still catching feelings for Sandy. Now, 87% of them are sexual, but they are feelings nonetheless. He tells her he wants her around more, which is strange because he says he don't really like people being around like that, but he wants her in his space. They kiss. He says, I like the way you taste. And she's like, but you don't know. Boom, episode 5. This one's called Just Here for a Hall Pass. We start back with Sandy and JR. This time they're at the park, and he asks her, what are her expectations of social media in a marriage? Listen, let me get a little closer. This next statement was a real statement uttered by a real person. John Richard tells her, when it comes to social media, the woman should post their man, but the man shouldn't have to post their woman.
What the hell did you just say?
Just let that register. I told you this man was an idiot, but good on Sandy for calling him out. He's still stuck on this whole my ex cheated thing. Like, good Lord, get over it, clown. You are a moron, but you look like the Black Zeus. Your insecurities are exhausting. Then we're with Zaina and Scotty, who are meeting up with her sister and her friends, and these girls are asking some good questions. Do you have second thoughts about Arya? What was Arya lacking? Zaina tells them that if JR proposed tomorrow, she would say no. She's like, I might leave here alone, or I might leave here with someone else. Over to Caleb and Arya playing Chubby Bunny with those marshmallows, and they're gonna get somebody killed. Now, we know from the last episode that they started off really as friends, but Arya's feelings were growing just a little bit. So here, they're getting a little bit more canoodly. It's still a little bit of a friendly canoodle, but a canoodle nonetheless. Over to JR meeting Sandy's mom, her sister, and her friends. Sandy's mom asks JR, so what do you do? He's like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own fitness business. Sandy's like, yeah, mom, you see those guns? Sandy's mom's like, yeah, I see them. How much is this one? I'm just kidding. She didn't say that. But she was thinking it. Sandy's mom is low-key horny for JR, though. You gotta get this girl on the later daters. They ask, are y'all real about running off together? They ask them, are you guys serious about running away together? And they say, yeah, this connection is real. All right, y'all, I wasn't lying. I told y'all episode 5 was the craziest. And we got a couple, oh my golly wally moments of the episode. And the first one is right here. And it is brought to us by none other than a Nick Crash Out. Somehow he found out that JR met Sandy's mom, and he calls up Sandy. Sandy got that shit on speakerphone, and JR standing right there. He's like, Sandy, how could you? I love you, and I'm very scared. Sandy's so gangster, though. She literally banged on this dude. She's like, shut your ass up, Nick. This child, Nicholas, who, mind you, is the oldest person on the whole show, is having an entire meltdown, crying on the couch, screaming, oh my God, I'm done. I'm done. Oh, you thought it was going to be a little break before the next, oh my golly wally moment of the episode? No. It's right here. Because then this psychopath Nick pulls up to JR and Sandy's apartment. I'm sitting here on the couch watching like,
boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
JR opens the door. Nick probably still got those little snot sniffles from crying all day. He's like, I just need to see her. JR's like, no, get the fuck out of here. Close the door in his face. Boom. Sandy's literally back there laughing like the thug she is. Nick comes back to the door. Sandy's like, no, fuck this. Let me talk to him. She's like, Nick, we're not doing this right now. You need to leave. They finally get rid of that predator, and JR's feeling like an alpha. He's like, I'm not going to let somebody come up in here and demand to talk to my wife. You good, babe? She's like, yeah. He's like, do you want to block him? She's like, I just did. She didn't. Then here goes the third, oh my golly Wally, moment of the episode. We're still with Nick. He's back on his couch, curled up, singing the worst rendition of Human Nature I ever did hear. Why? This is a crash out to the levels we've never seen in the short but storied history of the Ultimatum. I haven't cried the way Nick was crying since my mom took me to Toys R Us and told me I couldn't get the Ninja Turtles. Well, she told me I could get the Ninja Turtles, but she told me I couldn't get the secret lair. And you can't just have the Ninja Turtles without their secret lair. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, we're moving on. We're with Arya and Caleb. They're laying down and she's like, I just wish Scotty could be more like a Caleb. Well, you know what's funny? You got a Caleb right there. Isn't that what's funny when people do that? It's like, why can't so-and-so be more like you? The you be right there in front of you. Strange. Over to Zaina and Scotty, who are going to bring us our fourth, oh my golly Wally, moment of the episode. I told you episode 5 goes crazy. I told you that. We're going to take a break from Nick crash outs to bring you a Scotty crash out. Less amount of tears, same amount of male fragility. Now, Zaina says, I just feel like cleaning out the closets today. What about you? Scotty's like, well, I was thinking about going on a hot air balloon. What do you think about that? She's like, oh no, a hot air balloon? That would give me way too much anxiety. He's like, okay. Well, what about cryotherapy? What, so I could turn into Captain America and wake up in the year 3000? No sirree, Bob. She's like, man, I don't like being cold. Now Scotty starts to go Scotty just like I said he would. He's like, oh, if you don't want to be taken out, just say that. You just want to go to dinners for the rest of your life? Tell me, what does fun look like at 32? He's acting like he didn't just suggest 2 of the most extreme things. Like, did it ever occur to you that some people might not like heights? Did it occur to you that some people's idea of fun does not include freezing their balls off? You can't be this new to earth, because that Jerry curl you got tells me you've been here before. I'm not doing no cryotherapy. I'm gonna need regular therapy after the cryotherapy. But she hates confrontation. She won't even look at this dude when she's like battling back. She's like, what does my age have to do with anything? He tells her, he said this out loud. He says, listen, I have a problem with rejection, and maybe it's because I got a lot of validation when I was a kid. What the fuck are you talking about? Zaina rightfully asks, you thought that was a rejection? Then I don't know what happened. Did I go to the bathroom and come back and miss 10 minutes? Because out of the blue, he goes,
Wait a minute, did you eat without me?
She's like, I figured you already ate without me.
Oh, well, you figured wrong. This is not what I was looking for in a child wife.
Literally get this guy out of here immediately. Okay, as this episode comes to a close, we got the ladies' night out and the guys' night out. Couple highlights here, and I'll have you guys on your way. Don't you worry. First with ladies' night, Sandy's trying to explain Nick to the crew. Mariah's like, look, I'm not even in a child marriage with this dude, but I can tell you right now, he is not husband material. Mariah is literally like 15 years old, and she just has the emotional maturity that most of these people in their 30s on the show do not have. Quick scene over at guys' night. I got Caleb hanging with JR. Out of nowhere, Nick pulls up and he's like, JR, I would like to apologize to you as a man. What I did was wrong. I shouldn't have ever pulled up in there and cried in your face. Shit made me look crazy, and I know on Netflix it's gonna look even worse. And there's a dude named Tate Steak who's probably gonna drag me. And honestly, I think Nick is extremely troubled, but I have to respect someone who comes in and apologizes and takes accountability as a man. Let's see where this goes. And JR's not really feeling this apology. He's like, look, bro, I just want to know one thing. Is it me? Are you just mad because Sandy chose me? Now look at Caleb. This is exactly how I would look if I was on one of these TV shows. Nick is like, no, it's not you. He's lying. JR's like, look, bro, I lost all respect for you when you pulled up at our door. Nick's like, yeah, and I was wrong for that. But I will have you know, I'm not the only guilty party here, because I'm getting a lot of I miss you texts. Nick's like, I think I just felt away when I saw her looking at you how she used to look at me. JR's like, she's so caring. I love being around her. I can see why you want to get married to her. Again, look at Caleb's face. Now, watch this. At the exact same time that JR is professing his love for Sandy to Nick, Sandy is having a conversation with Zaina, JR's original partner. And that conversation is eye-opening. Sandy tells this woman, Zaina, there's absolutely nothing going on between her and JR. They're just going through the process. Honestly, I'm trying to train him up so he's a better man for you, girl. I'm sorry, what? I'm training him up? She said we ain't even hooking up. Now, I believe Sandy, but why are you still smooching him? Maybe the smooch is so innocent, but I mean, y'all tell me what you think. You think Sandy is gaslighting Zaina? Back to the guys now. We changed the subject. JR's like, all right, Caleb, what's up with you? You catching feelings for Arya or what? Caleb's like, nah, it's not like that. Scotty's like, what do you mean it's not like that? There's not a heterosexual man on this planet that wouldn't catch feelings for Arya. Scotty, what the fuck are you talking about? And then we go to the ladies' side. It's Arya talking to Mariah. She's like, yeah, I think that Caleb just feels like sometimes you don't trust him. And she's like, I do trust him. I just want to over-communicate sometimes. That's just how I was raised. Then Arya drops some bars. She's like, look, I think when all you've had is toxic relationships, sometimes when you get into your first non-toxic relationship, you become the toxic one. That's cool. Okay, back to the guys to close this out with some more toxic masculinity. Scotty tells JR that Zaina needs a man with some emotional vulnerability. Scotty says, what we've built has nothing to do with me or my perceptions of you. And JR's like, are you sure? Scotty's like, what? Look at Caleb's face. He's like, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I just heard some stuff. JR's like, yeah. Well, I heard that you said that I was only here to get a hall pass. Scotty's like, okay, first of all, I didn't say that. Second of all, why would I say that? But now that I'm thinking of it, Scotty probably did say that shit. Then watch this. Honestly, this is another crazy scene. Scotty's like, why you getting mad, bruh? And JR's like, what the hell? Why you saying I'm getting mad? Scotty's like, well, you seem upset. He's like, I am upset. Oh, okay. JR's still huffing and puffing. He's like, it just pisses me off when people don't think me and Sandy have a real connection. Just a quick question from the crowd here. Have you checked in to see if Sandy knows about this connection too? Nick jumps back into the conversation because the peace and quiet was too peaceful and too quiet for his liking. He's like, so does that mean y'all are sleeping together? And JR's like, what do you mean? In the same bed? Of course we're sleeping in the same bed. Isn't everybody sleeping in the same bed? My man Caleb is the perfect person to close us out because he says, I don't think that's what he means. I don't think that's what he means. Boom! And that's episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of season 3 of The Ultimatum. Good Lord. Listen, sorry for the time, but so many things to say. You know the drill. If you're still here at the end of all this, you gotta hit me with that hashtag all the way. An adventure. An adventure was had. Good Lord. Listen, I'll be back next week, Wednesday, for episodes 6, 7, and 8. Whoa. Oh, let me do my landing thing. As always, thanks for checking out Taste Steak. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button in the comments. You know the drill, man. How crazy is Nick? Isn't that crazy? Also, why do you think Vanessa likes Dave? Why'd they leave? Micah and Chanel, unfortunately, I think it's going to work out. But damn, a little more TV time wouldn't have hurt. Thanks for the time, y'all. Peace. Hey. Whoa, what a week. This is a good start to The Ultimatum. I always forget the other seasons, whether I liked them or didn't like them, but I would just say this was a good start to the week so far. Man, the women, like Mariah, I find to be great. Zaina, I find to be excellent, just a little misguided. Chanel, of course, I love. Vanessa was fine, just a little quirky. A lot of these men are just so terrible. Caleb is very nice, but Micah seems nice enough, but just so strange. Just so strange.